Hola, ¿cómo estás? So I'm really happy because it's my second appearance at the Microsoft 365 Saturday Madrid. Second virtual, unfortunately. I was at the previous event organized in April, and well, I'm back at this one organized in November as well. So welcome everyone. Hello to my session. This time I will be talking about the introduction to Microsoft RPA. So before I continue, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our sponsors because, well, even during these hard times and even though the fact that we are having these events online, this is still really hard to organize them. And well, all the support from sponsors is still highly needed, requested. And so, yeah, thank you very much for your continuous support for the community and that you are here with us. A few words about me. My name is Tomasz Poszytek. I am Business Applications MVP. I'm coming from Warsaw in Poland, and well, I'm a really active community member. I do a lot of writing and a lot of YouTubing. So if you have any questions to what I'm doing, or if you'd like to ask me some questions around RPA flows, business processes, power-ups, whatever around Power Platform, which is my specialization, then you can try to find me over my social channels like Twitter or YouTube. Simply if you go to aka.ms/Poszytek, you will find all the details and all the social links that I am present at. So don't hesitate and, well, just try to find me there. Up to you. All right. So just before I continue, I wanted to make a short introduction to what the RPA is so that we are on the same side with the same knowledge. So RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation, and according to what Gartner researching is saying, it is that the third most searched term on Gartner. So it shows how much big enterprises especially are really focused on looking to what the RPA is. And so Gartner is predicting that this market is going to rise to up to $4 billion by 2023, which is really a huge amount of money. Well, needless to say, right? So even though that we already have a very strong leaders, because right now we have the UiPath, the Automation Anywhere, the Blue Prism. These are the leaders, according to Forrester, that we all are aware of, right? So we all heard about UiPath or Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism. Still, there is a huge space for the competition. So all the competitors are right after them, because even though that we think that RPA is something very sophisticated, it is actually something very simple. I mean, in the big picture, because it's all about to simulate users' activity on the interface level, on the machine. So where to click, what to focus on, what to type in. Of course, there is a huge number of other tools added to the RPA. So kind of artificial knowledge that can predict what should do in case of failure, or in case of the control is not available. Or a lot of tools around process discovery, process mapping, process mining. So with all these additions to RPA, we are given like a suite that actually helps us not only to build these bots, but to actually take care of all these automation that can appear actually in our company. So RPA today is not only to build a bot, to build a process that actually follows users' behavior on a machine, but it's also a lot of more to help companies actually to identify these processes and then transform them into a running bot. So with that said, I will tell you how actually RPA works in just a while. I mean, this is the presentation. What is it about, right? So stay tuned. Within the Power Platform, what we already have is that we do have actually dedicated tool to each type of the requirements. Like we do have tools for data analysis and data transformation, data visualization, so the Power BI. We have Power Apps to help us automate applications, to build actually the business applications. Then we have Power Automate to create processes, business processes, workflows, approvals. And in the end, we also have Power Virtual Agents where we can create chatbots that can interact with our users, with our customers in their natural language, so that they can simply conversate with that machine to get answers they are looking for. And then beneath these applications, we have those connectors. We have AI Builder that also enhances all these of the applications with the AI. And also we have Command Data Service, which serves for most of these applications as a basic default data storage. Right, today we have over 300, I mean, we are nearly hitting 400 connectors right now in the Power Platform. So when thinking about automation of the digital world with Power Automate, with Power Apps, we actually can find connectors to hundreds of existing applications, not only from the Office 365 suite, but from the whole internet. So there are connectors to a lot of third-party tools, a lot of SaaS applications. And even if there is no connector at all for an application that we would like to include in our process, but that application has its API, its REST API, then there is an action that lets us to simply request or make HTTP calls to the endpoints of that application. So there is still a way to actually interact and include that software into our processes. So when speaking about the automation on the Power Platform, we have different interfaces depending on what kind of automation or what kind of logic we would like to actually automate. So speaking about the documents, images, files, we have the AI Builder and all these AI-infused automated things. So we can OCR them, we can describe what is written on that image, what this image is presenting. We can try to find the entities within the text, and a lot of more with only the AI Builder. Then, when speaking about the DPA, so the automation on the digital level, we have obviously the Power Automate with its connectors. So it helps us to connect to all these Office 365 and outside of the Office 365 applications that have their interfaces, that have their connectors. And when speaking about those old legacy applications that do not have any kind of interface apart from the UI, so the user interface, so the one that we do see when turning on our computers and opening application, then for such scenarios, now we have also the UI automation, so the RPA, so the robotic process automation, that helps us to actually include also those old applications without any kind of interface into our workflows. So right now, when we think about the Power Automate, it is actually a platform that allows us to simply automate the process end to end, whether it's starting from documents or it's starting from email, or whether it needs to connect some third-party tools with each other. So with this platform, actually, we can really create sophisticated processes that helps our companies to work more efficiently. So when thinking about the Power Automate, the RPA, actually, we can say that this is kind of a solution that helps us to bridge these gaps between these modern new applications, modern new SaaS software that has all these fancy endpoints that we can simply query and we can write and read from them, with all these old legacy applications without any kind of APIs, without any kind of SOAP even, or REST APIs that we can query and we can use to integrate these applications within our processes. And then having the RPA, we can actually include these applications by actually mimicking what would the user do to read information from that systems, and as well to what would user do to write information to that applications, right? So this is where the RPA actually fits. And in 2019 Ignite, Satya Nadella introduced a new tool in a Power Platform called the UI Flows, and that's actually Microsoft's answer to RPA. So right now, when you would like to go to Power Automate and then hit the new button, and then you'll find this UI flow, you'll be able now to create either the Power Automate desktop, that is a new addition that I'll be talking about within this in this session, or you could run the Windows recorder, which is the old UI flows recorder, the version 1 that was announced at Ignite 2019. or you can as well use the Selenium IDE to record web processes. So when the UI flows was introduced in the first place, we only had the UI flows Windows recorder to record steps and activities on the desktop applications, and we had Selenium IDE to record automation on the inside the web applications. And right now we also have the Power Automate desktop, that is a successor of WinAutomation that I'll be talking about in a moment, that actually incorporates or integrates these two worlds into one application, and you can automate both the web and desktop in the same flow. So what is WinAutomation? In May 2020, 19th May, Microsoft announced, it was during Microsoft Business Application Summit, I believe, that they acquired Softomotive, the company that stands behind the WinAutomation. Now, when you can, just let me show you one thing. When we look at this Forrester's wave diagram, we can see that Softomotive was actually a strong performer here, just right after the leaders wave. And this is the company that Microsoft acquired. So by this acquisition, they actually obtained knowledge and functionalities that helped them to create an enterprise level software that, well, is really ready and easily compete with all these leaders like Blue Prism or UI Flow or Automation Anywhere. So with WinAutomation, what we were actually given as the RPA processes designers was that a single unified interface to actually automate both desktop and the web processes, one application to help us really create sophisticated processes without actually a need to split them into smaller processes and then combine them together using Power Automate as, let's say, this orchestrator. And also this like seamless integration with the UI flows that helped us to actually trigger the WinAutomation processes right from the existing Power Automate processes as well. So that was this single unified ecosystem. And then at Ignite 2020, so just a year after, Microsoft announced Power Automate Desktop. They're the successor actually of the WinAutomation. When you would like to compare the WinAutomation and the Power Automate Desktop, you'll clearly see a lot of similarities, because actually the Power Automate Desktop is built on top of WinAutomation. The major difference, apart from those small differences in the interface, maybe the Power Automate Desktop is a little bit more clear and whitish, let's call it. But the major difference is that the Power Automate Desktop is really seamlessly integrated with Power Automate. So there is like an action within the Power Automate to actually trigger the Power Automate Desktop process. The flows that we are building within the Power Automate Desktop are actually stored in the common data service, not on the computer where they were created, like with the WinAutomation. So this is also more secured and also more integrated with the whole Power Platform, DLP policies, versioning in solutions, error handling, and so on and so on. So like all the benefits that we know, or the advantages that are coming from the Power Automate and the Power Platform in regards to actually create enterprise level processes and solutions, then the Power Automate Desktop is inheriting them. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that once this tool is hits the general availability, then Microsoft will actually as well announce the migration path, because I believe that a lot of companies have actually created or built their processes using WinAutomation, and I keep my fingers crossed that we'll be able as well to do these migrations from WinAutomation to the Power Automate Desktop. Wow, all right, a lot of talking. So just a few information before I show you how these applications work. First, what we need to actually run either of those. So we need to have the paid or trial Power Automate plan to create Power Automates that can actually trigger the RPAs. So the RPA action is the premium one, so you need to have the license. You need to have as well the work or school account to sign into your Windows device, and this account has to have the local administrator privileges. So this is the account that will be used by the RPA to actually execute all these steps that were recorded while the flow, the RPA flow was built. Also, we need Windows 10 Pro or Enterprise or Windows Server. Now, the RPA will not run on Windows Home or educational versions, because this is a tool meant for enterprises, and therefore it is not going to be available for the home editions. Sorry. Now we need to have Microsoft Edge or Chrome, or speaking about the Power Automate Desktop, Firefox is cool as well. Then we also need to have an environment with a common data service, because this is where all the flows are actually saved. And then we also need to have the keyboard and mouse, because well, somehow we need to code or program this bot to actually make those actions. Now, what is also required? Now, if we would like to use this old legacy UI Flows Recorder or the new Power Automate Desktop Recorder application, then we need to actually go and download the Power Automate Desktop installer, and then install these applications, these web browser extensions that we actually want to use. So if you would like to use Power Automate Desktop, then we need to install it. It will also install all the web browser extensions it needs to also let you automate web processes. If you would like to install on UI Flows without Power Automate Desktop, then you need to uncheck the Power Automate Desktop within the installer screen. What we also need is the on-premises data gateway, which is used actually by the Power Automate in the cloud to send requests and then to receive responses. So the Power Automate, the on-premises data gateway here serves a role of kind of a server that receives requests, then trigger RPA on the machine, then gets the response from the RPA and sends it back to the Power Automate. So you have to have the on-premises data gateway. If you plan not to use Power Automate Desktop for the web automation, then you also need to install Selenium web browser extension. Now, one important thing is that you need to grab this extension not from the Chrome store if you're planning to use it in Edge browser, but you need to go into Microsoft Store and find this extension within that store. So if you'd like to use any of the web automation extensions in Edge, just be sure to get them from the Microsoft Store, not the Chrome, not the Google Store. And lastly, if you'd like still to try WinAutomation, then you need to go into Softomotive.com, WinAutomation website, and install the WinAutomation software. Now, what is important is that right now we are seeing quite often updates in terms of on-premises data gateway and Power Automate Desktop, because like every month there is a new release, new update. If you really want to be on top of the latest updates and to really have the RPA running smoothly, then just be sure you're always running the latest versions of Power Automate Desktop and on-premises data gateway. Now, last thing I want to show you, or I want to explain you before we move on to demo, is that the RPA can run in two modes. There is the attended mode and unattended. The attended mode is called like a personal automation. It always requires a user to be logged into the machine. The machine obviously has to be turned on. There has to be an active session of the user, and actually you can just grab a coffee, sit back on your chair, and then watch how the RPA is moving your mouse, how it's typing in information in fields, how it's clicking, how it's saving. Like, you can watch yourself working on the machine. And this is mainly meant to automate a single process for a single user that is very repeatable. And it's happening on that workstation of that specific user. On the other hand, if we are thinking about this enterprise level automation and we have the workflows that are actually running several per day in multiple parallel sessions, then what we actually need is this unattended approach. In this, we can actually have the virtual machines on Azure where there cannot be any active user session. So the bot actually logs in and then executes all the activities and then logs out. But then you can bind these unattended bots into a thing that's called a cluster, and you can then scale up the number of parallel executions, the number of parallel bots working on the same processes or different processes. And well, this is dedicated to the high scalability of the process. With bots, what is also important is that we usually use them to actually automate these activities of our employees that are very repeatable, predictable, and similar, not to say identical, every time. So all these activities that relies on copying, pasting data from one system to another, or writing information from Excel to our SAP, or writing information from SharePoint to SAP, or doing anything that we actually do on a day-by-day basis, over and over, always the same. These are the candidates that we should think of when thinking about the RPA. So if we could replace those human activities with a bot that actually does the same but faster and in the more reliable approach, because it won't click on a different field to input the data as it was programmed in the first place, then we should really think about them, because having a bot working for us over those repeatable processes gives us the flexibility to move our employees to more engaging, more advanced, more complex tasks. So you're not paying for something that a machine could do, right? So keep that in mind. If you do have kind of those processes in your company, then the best way is to simply try to replace them with the bots. They're always cheaper than a human agent, and you can really then utilize your workforce into the more advanced topics and scenarios. All right. So having that said, let me now jump over to a demo. So the first scenario I want to show you is based on the front desk that receives an invoice. Then the invoice is scanned into a system, and then the AI builder is actually OCRing that invoice. Then once the invoice is sent for approval, there is an adaptive card sent to Microsoft Teams channel that is dedicated to the accountancy department. Then anyone from the accountancy team has to review that invoice and then approve or reject it. Once the invoice is approved, then the data from that invoice is going to be stored in the old legacy CRM. But before it is saved, actually, it has to be converted from the PLN, because the invoice is going to be in Polish zloty, into dollars, because, well, the CRM is working in dollars. So let me now show you how it actually works. First, I need to upload the invoice. Right now, the invoice is uploaded, and now it's being analyzed by the AI builder to identify these fields that the model is actually taught to recognize. So, well, it has identified all the information I actually need, like the invoice number, the due dates, the issue date, the total value, and most importantly, all the items from the invoice. So now I'll just send it for approval. Okay. And here in my Microsoft Teams channel, I should soon receive this new adaptive card. All right. So there is an adaptive card with all the information that was on the invoice, right? So I have the information about who is the issuer, what are the dates for the invoice, and all the items. So actually, right now, me as the accountancy team, I can actually simply say approve or reject, and that's it. So okay, I'll now approve it. So right now, the Power Automate that was triggered to actually send this invoice, send this adaptive card, now it is also working on actually triggering the Power Automate desktop on my machine to to execute all this logic that is required to save that invoice into the CRM. So right now, the Power Automate is connecting my computer via the on-premises data gateway. So soon there should be soon it should execute the Power Automate desktop actually, and then the flows logic. That's right. You can see there is a new session of my of the Edge opening, and well, hopefully it will now trigger the Power Automate desktop. Okay, so you can see that the Power Automate desktop is actually changing the currencies from Polish zloty to dollars. and closed that session already. And right now there is the Contoso invoicing application open in a back. And well, I have my hands here. So now it's inserting this new record into into the CRM. So, well, it's done. So with that, the process has been completed. I'll just briefly show you how it worked. So first there was this process called the adaptive cards approve the invoice, which was actually meant to, or built to, first grab the data from AI Builder and then actually to generate that invoice. And then once the invoice, this adaptive card is submitted back, so it's closed, is completed, is approved, then it is evaluating what is the outcome of this, what is the outcome of this approval. And if the outcome is approved, then it is sending the confirmation email to the requester and is calling the child flow, which is meant to actually execute the RPA. Now the child flow here is actually very simple because it does only two things. So first, it is receiving all the information from the parent flow that it has to actually store into the CRM, and then it is running this Power Automate desktop using that dedicated new action that we have in Power Automate. All right, so let me now show you how you can build your own process. So first, when you go into Create, you have the UI Flows tile. Once you go there, you can see that image that I showed you during the presentation. So you can now choose what kind of automation you would like actually to create. The new Power Automate desktop, or the Windows Recorder, or the Selenium IDE. I will not talk about the Windows Recorder and Selenium IDE because they should be replaced by the Power Automate desktop by the end of this year. So, I mean, maybe not replaced, but actually their role will really be very, very small in the future. So I'll just focus on the Power Automate desktop because that's the tool that we are going really to start using starting next year at the earliest. So the Power Automate desktop actually is built from two screens, so like the WinAutomation was. So the first one is the dashboard that we have all the Power Automates that are created on that specific environment, and then we can either edit that flow, or we can create a new flow. So I'll just go to create a new flow. And now this scenario is going to be quite different that I want to show you, because I will show you that I have this old, let's say, legacy CRM built-in access. So that's my old contacts list. And now what will happen is that I will receive an email with a list of contacts, and I simply want to save them into that access database. So let me show you how to build such a thing. And of course, the idea is that the file is going to be stored on the OneDrive by the Power Automate. So the flow, the Power Automate flow is going to pick up that email with the attachment, then it will save the file to the OneDrive, and in the end, it will trigger the Power Automate desktop that will pick up that file from OneDrive and execute it. All right. So let me just use a different name than the one that you can see. And then right now there is a developer or the designer view starting. So here you can see actually all the information, or I mean this designer canvas that we are using to create flows in Power Automate desktop. So on the left there is a list of available activities, actions that we can actually drag and drop onto the designer canvas. In the middle, there is a designer canvas with the web recorder and the desktop recorder. So solutions that helps us to fast automation or speed up automation of user interfaces by actually recording what a user is doing. Then we have the designer that is split between the flows. So we have the main flow, and then we can create subflows. The subflows are simply like a sub-processes or functions in the program that can be called from different places and be executed multiple times, so you don't have to define the same logic over and over again. You can just call it or split it into subflows, so then your flow, your logic is going to be easier in maintenance and development. Then on the right, we have the variables, and here we have the input and output variables. So the input are actually like the information data to them is passed from the Power Automate, and then the output are actually returned back to the Power Automate flow. And also we have the flow variables, so the information that is being created within the flow run. Then we have the UI elements, so the repository of all the controls, all the UI identified specific elements that can be used by the flow in automation, and also the repository of images also used by the Power Automate. So the first thing I want to do is actually to use this file, and then not a file, I want to use the wait. I want to use wait for file. Yes, the file is created, and what I want to do is to simply use my so I'm going to wait for this file. However, what is also important is that the file name is going to be one of the input variables. All the information here is required. Okay, and so right now I can change this function or this action to be parameterized. So I'll just use the file name as the parameter here. Now, once it is opened, once this is received, I will now open Excel. Excel. So I will launch Excel, and I will launch it with this document. So I just need to copy the same path again. All right. Now the next step I have to do is actually to find or to go to the running Excel and then identify or count how many rows I need to iterate over. So what I need to do is to find. So you know what? I just go into the Excel set of actions, and there under Advanced there is yes, get first free row from the Excel instance. So this is the instance of the Excel that has been triggered on the column A. And this will actually give me the information where is the first free row. Now the next thing I want to do is to actually get all the data from the Excel. I'll just use this action so to read the data from the Excel worksheets, and then I will read from the range of cells. So I'll read from A1, and then end column is going to be the end row, so this one. And I'll use it -1 because what I believe is that the first row is counted as a 0, and then last row is going to be 2, and I just need the 0 and the first row. So this is what I need to do. Now the next step that I want to do is to actually go for the loop, and this is not going to be this loop, it is going to be each. So for each, and then the value to iterate is going to be the Excel data. Right. Now in each action, what I actually want to do now is to execute a set of activities within the access. So right now I want to show you how to maybe a little bit speed it up. So first I'll open the access file. Then I will also use this Excel file here. Sorry, it wasn't launch, it was, I don't remember those names. So let me go to the system. Okay, the run application. So now I need to run application. I have its path here saved. So this is the path to Microsoft Excel. Normal, now let's say it's maximized, and then wait for the application to load. So now I have the access triggered, and so I can start this automation on the access. So now I hit the desktop recorder. It will open this small window here that I can actually use to record all the actions I'm doing. Now I need to start recording. And so, as you can see, when I'm hovering and I'm moving the mouse over the interface of this Access database or any other desktop application, then if the desktop recorder is actually able to identify those specific UI elements, it is surrounding them with this red border. So now I'll just open this list item. I just need it once. Now I need to hit the new contact. Then I have to start typing. All right. Sorry. I think I'm doing this wrong. So maybe that way. No, I don't need that. What is also important is that for each of these activities, I was able to actually put a comment as well. So if then I would like to be aware what I'm actually clicking on and what this specific activity is for, then I should add these comments. So like, for example, right now I'll write down something in the city, and then I can say city, right? And then I'll, let's say, type here the business phone. And then I need to hit this save and new. And if this is the last record that I'm actually going to use, then I need to as well close it. And in the end, I will close the application itself as well. But I will do it in a different way. All right, so now I can say finish. And what you will see is that all these activities that I've actually done are going to be represented as the specific or single items or actions within my UI, within my designer. So now what I need to actually remove all these unnecessary actions, because I don't need to wait between clicking. And there is the one again. And so, right. So this is to open the application. This is to start a new contact. And now this is all here to actually go into the loop. And then the last one here, so to close, is going to be after the loop. And the last one is going to be to close the application, close. Maybe I'll just type in here. Close window. And so I'll close the Windows access. All right. So now what I have to do as well is to update this information here. So I need to replace this as this or whatever it is with the current item. And I know that the first name is in column 0. So this way I can actually reference to the first column. Then there is the last name, right? So it was the first name, last name, then the company. Sorry, it was first name, then I don't actually know what this field was for, but then I was click on the last name. So now here I can input the last name. Then it was, I think, what could that be? Possibly the company. So I'll use the, sorry, a second. Then email is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so okay, that's it. I'll also remove some of the unnecessary actions like this click to map. I don't remember that I clicked it. And also these drop downs, I don't think this is going to work because it was recorded somehow partially. So to have all these steps actually to be completed successfully, I want to simply remove these. And well, let's see how it works. So right now it is turning into the run mode. Now it should launch the Excel, then read all the information from that Excel file, from that contacts list, and then launch Microsoft Access and wait until it's really loaded. Then open the database. That's cool. All works fine so far. And now you should start creating these new contacts. So let me see if all those steps. Okay, the job title is mismatched. City, yeah, I didn't replace it. The number, okay. And then James Bond should be okay. That's fine. I mean, despite the fact that the job title is used instead of the company. So now it should I'll save it again and then close, but there was possibly an error because maybe the Save and New button has now changed its selector. So, well, hard to say. Nevertheless, the point is that it's always the fact that some things may not be working correctly. So what I can do right now is that, well, the button wasn't found. So I can go right now into the UI elements here and say button save and close. Maybe there is a new selector present. So I need to add the new, sorry, not this new, but the new selector with the reCAPTCHA. And then with the control, I can say, yes, grab me its selector. And indeed, each selector is a little bit different. So right now, I have two selectors for the same UI control. And therefore, I can actually use them to both, well, to try to find either of these two elements. So let me just trigger it one last time, all right? So now you should see that all these steps are executed in the best possible way, without any issues, without any errors this time. Hopefully, that's fingers crossed. So because I wanted to show you that it doesn't matter if you're working with RPA, if you're working with Power Automate, with any other tool that you're creating business applications or business processes, you're always there is always the possibility that you will meet or face the errors, the issues. So this authoring, the creation of all these solutions isn't that very seamless and easy. It's always a kind of a struggle of debugging, of testing, of trying to find out what is really not working, what is going wrong. So just don't give up and try to do your best to actually complete the task. So right now you can see that it worked. So it has created those two records and completed the flow. So the last thing I could do, but I don't want because I don't have enough time, is that I could simply create a Power Automate and then execute this flow right from the Power Automate. So what I would actually have to do was to go and then, well, like it was created in here or there. No, it was that flow. So just load it. So to go create the Power Automate is triggered by the new email in my inbox, and then the second action would be actually to save the file to OneDrive, and then the last one would be to call the UI flow action that is called run a flow built by the Power Automate desktop. And now, as you will see, when I choose this, okay, I didn't save this this flow actually, so it is not yet present in the cloud. But if I saved it, then it should appear here, and then the save contacts is my, let's say, former approach. Then you would also find all these input variables present here as the available input variables, and then output variables would be ready to be used in the actions executed after the RPA action as the outcomes of this action. Now, what is also important, once you set up that action, you're also able to choose either whether you'd like to run this action in attended or in unattended mode. All right, so let me now quickly jump back to the presentation. So I will be able now to show you what is done. So that was a demo. I hope you liked it, even though we had some issues, but as said, nothing you are creating is really free of issues and failures. So just as said, don't give up and do your job, do the best of what you can, and in the end you will always succeed. One thing about the unattended mode that is said is when you have the bots that you can join in a cluster. So when speaking about the orchestrator and a machine or a concept that is actually delivering pending jobs to the bots that you have joined in the same cluster, then this is also the on-premise data gateway, which is receiving all these jobs, it's queuing them, and then it's spreading them between all the bots that are present in the same cluster. So once you're creating a new bot and you want to add it to, and then you're configuring the on-premise data gateway, then you have this option either to create a new gateway or to add that bot to an existing one. Now, once you choose to add it to an existing gateway cluster, you will be then able to create this set of bots and then being orchestrated by the one gateway. Last thing that I want to say is, of course, about the licensing. So how much does it cost? Well, first I said that you need to have the Power Automate premium plan because you can't actually trigger the RPA without having the Power Automate premium license, since the RPA action is premium. So speaking of that, if you'd like to create RPA processes, the flows, you have to either have the attended RPA and the per user plan, so $40 per user per month, or you can as well go into an unattended add-on, which costs $150 per a bot per month. And then if you have a flow that is running company-wide, then you have to have as well, I mean, not as well, but you don't need to have the per user flow plan, but you need to have the per flow plan, which costs $500. So depending on what you need, then the amount you'll have to pay for your setup is going to be different. Now, in terms of what is a bot is a machine. Then you can have a single bot that is running a lot of processes, a lot of flows. Of course, it cannot run them in the same time. It can queue them and then run one after another. But this licensing is not per a process, per a flow that you're automating, but per the machine. So if you have like 10 virtual machines, then you need to pay per 10 virtual machines, and you can execute like hundreds of processes per day. Or just remember about the executions, about the API limits that you have in Power Automate, but that's a whole different story. Now, if you'd like to start with RPA and you have no idea what it is, how it works, and actually how to create your own first setup, then what I can recommend you is the RPA in a Day Labs that, well, I had the pleasure to co-author as well. Just go to aka.ms/RPA in a day. There you will find information about the labs, so what is happening in each lab, and also you'll be able to download the package. So all the applications that are required, the presentations, the lab details, the instructions, a lot of knowledge that helps you to onboard with RPA. So thank you very much. I hope you really liked the presentation. I hope you really liked what you've seen and you learned something new and something important. If you do have any questions, type aka.ms/Poszytek or try to find me on any of these social media channels. I highly encourage you to follow me on YouTube because that's the place where I'm not really trying to focus the most and to produce the most engaging and the most, let's say, explanatory content. So if you're looking for any kind of tutorials, deep dives, and how-tos, then you can find them on my YouTube channel. So once again, thank you very much. And well, I wish you a pleasurable rest of the conference, an awesome other sessions, as much engaging as mine, and to learn a lot of cool new knowledge that you can use in your everyday job. Thank you very much. Keep safe, stay safe, be healthy, try to avoid COVID. And I really hope that next year we will be able to meet in person in Madrid. Hola!